input as far as specific legislation is concerned, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as the debate has been going on, I've been keen to hear my colleagues when they talked about the issue of SHA, Madam Speaker. And this is a very important discussion. I speak as a member of the Health Committee, Madam Speaker, and we've been out there doing our oversight, visiting different hospitals, level 5 hospital, the county, sub-county hospitals, and I personally have been keen on getting to understand, is SHA working? And if it's not working, what is the challenge? And Madam Speaker, in most, and as recent as Kilifi County, where we were actually last weekend, one of my concerns was from the desk of, is it the desk of admissions, the person who is in charge in terms of receiving payments, and also the issues of SHA. And we were able to ask as a committee, is SHA working? The response was, yes, it is working. The only challenge that was in place is that there was no digitalization. People had to really leave their ID cards, be given a small form, they fill up, but also the same clients or the patients who are in that particular hospital, we were able to interact with them and ask them, is SHA working? And according to them, they said yes, and they are certain that the process is ongoing, Madam Speaker. There should be conversations of, this is the specific challenge. It cannot just be generalized that it is not working. It is good to say what specifically is not working. What is the exact problem? What is the exact challenge, Madam Speaker? But not just a generalization that a system is not working. I've had my senator talk about the hospital that he proudly says he was born in, which is good, and asked, what will I tell the future generation, my generation, if this hospital does not exist? It's the same question I asked today. What will we say if we still continue allowing people to put fire in this country, to burn this country? Then where will we say we are coming from? Which Kenya will we call home, Madam Speaker? It is important that as much as we are highlighting the problem, we highlight the problem, and at the same time, offer solution unto the same problem. It cannot just be negative critique without a solution. Leadership is identifying the problem, and leadership is also offering the same problem on the same platform. We are not going to get out here in Senate after 2027 with certificate of either who was shouting more than the other, who had more point of orders than the other. It is not about that. It is what we've been able to deliver as a house. There is no law that is for Senator Boni Halwale. There is no law that is for Senior Senator Oburu Odinga. This law is for us as a country, as the people of this nation. That should sink very well, Madam Speaker. But it's not about the highest shouting person. With those many and few, I really appreciate the committee on the same and urge them through their leadership to fast track that these amendments and these regulations will be up to date. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kajwang.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support the recommendation of the Committee on Delegated Legislation that the House should annul the Environmental Management and Coordination, Strategic and Integrated Environmental Assessments and Environmental Audits Regulations 2025 of 2025. Madam Speaker, I have looked at the two main reasons that have been advanced by the committee, and I do agree that those reasons are solid enough for this House to be moved to annul those regulations. The first reason given is lack of public participation. Public participation on these regulations were done in the year 2018. And Madam Speaker, if you live in this country, you know that the political environment and terrain in this country has changed significantly from 2018 to date. Perhaps even the aspirations of Kenyans have changed. Perhaps even the policy and focus of government has changed. In fact, it has changed significantly. In 2018, Madam Speaker, we are talking of the Big Four. And 2018, Madam Speaker, one very interesting thing is that Senator Boni Khalwale and I were riding on the top of a similar vehicle when we were welcoming Baba from the United States of America. And we were tear gassed, we were clobbered for 6 hours. When we got to Gikomba, Madam Speaker, the traders in Gikomba came out with the sticks and rungus and were generally very violent. Senator Boni Khalwale disappeared. I've not known to date how he got out of my car, but the situation was very tense. That was 2018. Today, Boni Khalwale is a chief whip of the government. And so the views given in 2018, really, Madam Speaker, we cannot use them to support or to augment regulations in the year 2025. Madam Speaker, we have moved full cycle from Big Four. We went to handshake. We went to Tanga regime. We got into a new government that started with bottom up. And then from bottom up, it was, after bottom up, it was, before it was shareholders. It was a government of shareholders. After becoming a government of shareholders, it then became a government whose, to whom the most urgent national priority was to eject the deputy president. And then after that, it became the government of broad base. And now, at least, the nation has stabilized. Madam Speaker, you cannot use public participation of 2018 to support regulations today. A lot of things have changed in this country. And in fact, Madam Speaker, to be honest, if, assuming the former deputy president was involved in public participation in 2018 in these regulations, do you think he will hold the same views that he held in 2018 today? Definitely not. And that is why public participation must be timely. It must be current. It must be relevant. It needs to be fresh. It needs to be like news. On that basis, Madam Speaker, I agree with the committee that these regulations must be annulled and should be rejected. The second basis is that when the regulations were published, the fees and tariffs were not included. And Madam Speaker, that is an extremely material feature or aspect of regulations that cannot be ignored. Because the Statutory Instruments Act has a very clear definition of what a statutory instrument is. And Madam Speaker, for avoidance of doubt, it talks about any rule, any order, any regulation, any direction, any form, any tariff of costs or fees. You cannot exclude tariff of costs and fees from such regulation and then give the Cabinet Secretary the power to impose that. Madam Speaker, we must remember that delegated legislation or statutory instruments, I think in the UK they call it secondary legislation. It is this parliament that has donated the power that has been given to it by the people to the executive. But Madam Speaker, sometimes, and this debate has been going on in the Commons, there's been concern about what is called skeleton legislation, where Parliament passes a framework, a skeleton, and then says the Cabinet Secretary shall prescribe regulations. We did that with the Health Acts. When we were in Turkana, Madam Speaker, we were in a rush because the President told us that something good was brewing and that if we passed the 4 Health Acts, then everyone was going to get free medication in this country. We are going to get free health insurance. And Madam Speaker, every time I sit in the committee, I chair of Public Accounts Committee, I see governors present their receiver of revenue statements. And they come and tell me they are proud that they've grown their own source revenue. And they have grown it from hospitals. Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 hospitals. And I ask myself, if governors are making so much money out of hospitals, then where is this promise and dream of free and universal health coming from? I expect that in the next financial year, every governor would be reporting zero as fees collected from people in level 1, level 2, level 3, and perhaps even level 4 hospital. But look at all the counties, including my own county. We have grown our own source revenue beyond 1 billion Kenya shillings on the strength of hospital fees. Why are we still collecting money from the poor people? And yet we are supposed to be having one universal healthcare system and insurance in this republic. It's because we passed skeleton legislation. We were in a rush to get out of Turkana. We're in a rush to pass the legislation. And then we said the cabinet secretary shall prescribe and shall come up with regulations. Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate Senator Mofaya, who chairs this committee. And I keep reminding him that this is one of the most powerful committees of this House, because it ensures that that power that has been donated to the executive cannot be abused. It has been abused grossly in the past. I can give you a few examples, Madam Speaker. I've given the example of the Health Act. We passed in this House the Fisheries Management and Development Act. That was in the year 2016. And it is one of the proudest laws. I just come into Parliament, and I was so proud that we are coming up with a regulatory and legislative framework that was going to open up our blue economy, and that was going to make our people rich, that was going to make our people benefit from the natural resources that have been put in the seas and the lakes and the oceans that we have around us. To date, Madam Speaker, you have regulations that have not been brought to this House. And as a result, the Fisheries Management and Development Act cannot be enforced. Indeed, Madam Speaker, it is an insult to the fisher folk in this country when we heard the other day that the Fish Marketing Authority and Kenya Fisheries Services are some of the state organizations that are bound to be disbanded because they are offering no value. Madam Speaker, when we came up with specific parastatals and bodies to support specific crops, for example, the Dairy Board supports the dairy sector. I've not heard anyone say the Dairy Board should be disbanded. The Coffee Board, the Tea Board. Madam Speaker, when Mwai Kibaki became president, the policy was consolidation. And we came up with one super agency called AFA, Agriculture, Food, Fisheries, and Livestock Authority. But along the way, it was clear that AFA did not have the capacity to deliver the changes and the dream that was in the strategy for revitalization of agriculture that was espoused by Mwai Kibaki. As a result, people started divesting. Fisheries divested, coffee divested, tea divested, dairy divested, even livestock. I believe there's a livestock bill before this House. Why should the other sectors divest? And then when it comes to our fish, we are being told that that is going to be too small a parastatal, and that parastatal, whatever it is doing, can be done by the ministry. If that is the case, then let's collapse everything else so that we are equal. Madam Speaker, the same absurdity extended to the Cotton Development Act. This House, this Parliament, passed the Cotton Development Bill, which was sponsored by Senator Betsienko. Both houses agreed. The bill was sent to the President for assent. The President did not assent on time. And then 3 months later, as an afterthought, the President returned the bill back to Parliament with a memorandum. And what was the memorandum saying? That it is not government policy to establish additional boards, that the cotton development and management can be done by the line ministry. We don't hear the same argument when it comes to other crops and products. Madam Speaker, I hope that the Agriculture Committee, where I sit, has reported back to this House that the committee rejected the President's memorandum because they were filed outside time. So that what now we expect is gazettement of the Cotton Development Act and for its implementation so that cotton farmers can also be considered to be part of this republic, just the same way farmers of other crops and products have been given protection, have been given autonomy, have been given statutory independence. That is what we expect for cotton and we expect for fisheries. In this Parliament, Madam Speaker, you have seen regulations have been circulated to honorable members regarding the Parliamentary Service Commission constituency office regulations. Madam Speaker, that has been the biggest joke in this Parliament, that this Senate has failed to influence the publication of regulations that will ensure that the office of the Senate is treated slightly differently from the office of the Member of National Assembly. The reason why, and perhaps the public needs to know this, that a senator like Senator of Nairobi, who has how many constituencies? Has 17 constituencies. The money that is sent to support the operations of the senator from Nairobi is the same amount of money that is sent to a single member constituency. And yet it takes care of 17 electoral units. I take care of 8, Madam Speaker. The resource, the budget, the envelope I have for staff and operations, and even office rent, can only keep me in one place. I cannot be present in all the 8 constituencies or all the 40 wards. Why?